The UES Defiance moved carefully through the outer regions of Corthani space. Captain Jake Morrison had ordered the ship to avoid any large settlements while they searched for Dr. Campbell's missing research vessel. The crew worked quietly, still, confused by the hostile reactions they had received from the aliens. In the ship's interrogation room, First Officer Susan Wright sat across from the most senior alien prisoner. The blue-skinned being had 4 eyes and spoke in a language that the ship's computer was slowly learning to translate. Intelligence Officer Lieutenant Chris Parker stood nearby, recording everything. "Ask him again about the human colonies," Susan said to the translator device. The alien prisoner, who had given his name as Sub-Commander Kethrall, looked tired and afraid. He had been answering questions for hours, but each answer only made the humans more confused. "He says the human colonies were peaceful places," the translator spoke in its mechanical voice. "Families lived there, scientists and farmers. They traded with other species and caused no trouble." Susan frowned. If they were peaceful, why were they destroyed? Kethrall spoke for a long time before the translator could make sense of his words. "He says the Great Alliance was afraid. Humans spread across the stars very quickly. In just 50 years, they had colonies in 12 star systems. Some Alliance members thought humans would take over the galaxy." Chris Parker looked up from his notes. "What was the Great Alliance?" The alien's 4 eyes showed fear when he heard the translation of that question. He spoke quickly, his voice shaking. "He says it was a group of species that controlled this, part of the galaxy 300 years ago. They made the decision to stop human expansion before it became unstoppable." "How did they stop it?" Susan asked, though she was starting to fear the answer. Kethrall's response came slowly, as if each word was painful to say. "They attacked all the human colonies at the same time. Every human settlement was destroyed. Men, women, children. No one was left alive. The Alliance thought this would end the human threat forever." Susan felt sick to her stomach. "They committed genocide." He says it was called the Purge. The Alliance celebrated when it was finished. They thought they had saved the galaxy from human domination. Chris asked the next question. "What happened after the Purge?" Kethrall spoke for several minutes. His voice grew quieter as he continued, and his 4 eyes looked down at the table. "He says the Alliance was wrong about humans being finished. 6 months after the Purge, human ships appeared in Alliance space. But these were not colony ships. They were warships, and they were angry." "Tell us about the burning," Susan said. The alien prisoner started shaking when he heard those words translated. He covered his face with his hands and spoke in broken sentences. The human fleet was led by an admiral named Grace Turner. Her ships moved through Alliance space like fire through dry grass. They destroyed every military base, every warship, every space station. The Alliance tried to fight back, but human technology was far beyond anything they had. Susan thought about the name Grace Turner. She would have to check the ship's records later to see if there was any connection to their current commander. "Alex Turner." "How long did the burning last?" Chris asked. 6 months. The same amount of time that passed between the Purge and the human response. Admiral Turner's fleet reduced the Great Alliance from a galactic power to scattered groups of survivors living on primitive worlds. Then what happened? Kethrall looked up at Susan with all 4 of his eyes. The humans stopped. They could have killed everyone, but they didn't. Admiral Turner sent a message to all surviving Alliance worlds. She said humans would never again allow genocide against innocent people. Then the human fleet disappeared. Susan leaned back in her chair. The story was incredible, but it explained everything. The fear, the immediate attacks, the terror in the alien survivors' voices. He says, the translator continued, that after the humans left, it took 200 years for civilization to rebuild in this part of space. The Corthani Empire rose from the ashes of the old alliance. But everyone remembered the stories about human ships and what they could do when humans were pushed too far. Chris had been taking notes through the entire conversation. Ask him if his people were part of the original alliance. Kethral shook his head when he heard the question. He spoke quickly and with emotion. He says no. The Korthani Empire was built by survivors and refugees from the burning. Most Korthani alive today had nothing to do with the purge. But they grew up hearing stories about human revenge. Susan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars moved slowly past as the ship continued its search. Everything made sense now. The humans on Earth had no memory of these events because they had happened 300 years ago. But to the aliens, the fear was still fresh. One more question, she said. Ask him if he knows anything about missing human researchers. Kethral's expression changed when he heard this question. He spoke quickly and pointed in a direction that the ship's computer calculated as deeper into Korthani space. He says yes. A few weeks ago, Korthani science ships found a small human vessel near some ancient ruins. The humans were taken prisoner and brought to Research Station Vexitar for questioning. Are they still alive? Susan asked. He thinks so. He says the station commander was very interested in learning about current human technology and Earth's military strength. Susan and Chris left the interrogation room and went directly to Captain Morrison's ready room. They found him studying star charts with Commander Alex Turner. Captain, Susan said, we have the answers you wanted, and you're not going to like them. Jake listened carefully as Susan and Chris explained what they had learned from the alien prisoner. When they finished, the ready room was silent for a long moment. 300 years ago, Jake said slowly, humans had colonies out here, and they were all destroyed. Every man, woman, and child, Susan confirmed. Complete genocide, Alex. Turner had gone pale during the briefing. Admiral Grace Turner. That's my great-great-grandmother. I have her picture in my quarters. Jake looked at his second-in-command with new understanding. Your ancestor led the revenge mission. The family stories always said she was a war hero, but they never explained what war she fought in. Now I know. Chris opened his tablet and showed them a map. According to our prisoner, Dr. Campbell and her team are being held at Research Station Vexitar. It's about 12 hours from our current position. Jake studied the map. The research station was deep in Korthani space, probably heavily defended. But he couldn't abandon Dr. Campbell and her people. There's something else, Captain, Susan said. The current Korthani Empire had nothing to do with the original genocide. They're descendants of survivors and refugees. They attack us because they think we're here to finish what Admiral Turner started. But we're not, Jake said. We just want our people back. They don't know that. To them, we're the monsters from their grandparents' nightmares. Alex walked to the window and looked out at the stars. My ancestor burned their worlds because they committed genocide against human colonies. Now their descendants attack us because they think we're here to burn what's left. It's a cycle, Jake realized. Fear and violence creating more fear and violence, Susan nodded. The question is, how do we break the cycle? Jake thought about this. Dr. Campbell and her team were prisoners somewhere in enemy space. His ship had already fought 2 battles against aliens who saw him as an enemy from their worst nightmares. Every Korthani ship in the sector was probably hunting for the UES Defiance right now. First, we rescue our people, Jake decided. Then we figure out how to make peace with ghosts from the past. Chris looked worried. Captain, Research Station Vexitar is probably heavily defended. And after what we did to their fleets, they'll be expecting us. I know, Jake said. But we can't leave our people in enemy hands. Prepare the ship for a rescue mission. As the UES Defiance changed course toward the research station, Jake wondered if he was about to make the same mistakes that had led to 3 centuries of fear and hatred. But he also knew that sometimes the only way to end a cycle of violence was to risk everything for peace. The truth about the past was finally clear. Now came the hard part, building a different future. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the medical bay watching Dr. Helen Martinez treat the alien survivors. The blue-skinned beings with 4 eyes looked nothing like humans, but their fear was easy to understand. They huddled together in the corner, speaking in quick whispers whenever they saw him. "Have they said anything useful?" Jake asked. Dr. Martinez shook her head. "They keep repeating what sounds like prayers or warnings. My translator is working on their language, but it will take time." One of the aliens, smaller than the others, pointed at Jake and said something that made all the survivors back away in terror. The word sounded like Keth Mori, but Jake had no idea what it meant. "Keep working on it," Jake said. "I need to know why they attacked us." Jake returned to the bridge where his crew was tracking the energy trail left by the fleeing alien ships. The trail led deeper into unknown space, toward a region that Earth's sensors had never fully mapped. "Captain," Lieutenant Karen Scott called out, "I'm picking up multiple signals ahead. Looks like a large fleet of ships." Commander Alex Turner checked the tactical display. 37 vessels, sir, much larger than the patrol group we encountered." Jake frowned. "Are they heading toward us?" "Yes, sir. They'll intercept us in 2 hours." Jake made a decision. "Open all communication channels. Send them our standard peaceful message." Karen broadcast the message on every frequency they could reach. "Unknown fleet. This is Captain Morrison of the Earth vessel UES Defiance. We seek peaceful contact and communication. We have survivors from your damaged ships aboard and wish to return them safely." The response came quickly, but it was not words. The alien fleet began spreading out into attack formation. "They're not interested in talking," Alex observed. "Keep trying," Jake ordered. "Maybe if they know we have their people." Miles away from the UES Defiance, Admiral Zex Thara led his battle fleet toward the human ship. His hands shook as he read the reports from Commander Dexval. 2 ships destroyed in seconds, alien survivors rescued by the enemy. It was exactly like the old stories. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the humans are sending messages. They claim to have our survivors." "It's a trick," Admiral Zexathera said, though his voice was uncertain. "The old records say humans are clever. They use mercy as a weapon." But deep in his mind, doubt was growing. Why would the humans rescue enemy survivors if they plan to destroy everyone anyway? "All ships prepare for battle," the Admiral ordered. "We cannot let them reach the inner systems." The 2 fleets moved toward each other through empty space. On the UES Defiance, Jake tried one more time to prevent a fight. "Karen, send them the medical records showing we've been treating their people. Maybe they'll understand." The message went out with data files showing the alien survivors being cared for in the human medical bay. For a moment, there was silence from the alien fleet. Then they opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams struck the UES Defiance from all directions. The ship's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the massive attack. Alarms rang throughout the vessel as the crew braced for battle. "Shields down to 60%. Alex reported. "They're hitting us with everything they have." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. He had tried to be peaceful. He had rescued their people and offered to return them safely. And still, they attacked. "Return." "Fire," he ordered. "Target their weapon systems only." Lieutenant Dan Hayes worked quickly at his console. The UES Defiance's weapons were much more advanced than anything the aliens had. Each shot from the human ship could disable multiple alien vessels. The first volley from the UES Defiance knocked out the weapons on 6 alien ships. The second volley disabled their engines. Within minutes, half the alien fleet was floating, helplessly in space. "Captain," Karen called out, "the surviving alien ships are retreating." "Let them go," Jake said. "Send rescue teams for the disabled vessels." Admiral Zexathera watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart. The human ship moved through his formation like a predator among prey. But instead of destroying the disabled ships, the humans were sending rescue vessels to help the survivors. "This makes no sense," he said to his bridge crew. "Why are they saving our people?" His tactical officer had no answer. Nothing in the old records explained this behavior. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Admiral Zexathara looked at the tactical display. His fleet was broken. Half his ships were disabled and the other half were running away. But the humans were not chasing them. "Fall back to the defense perimeter," he ordered. "Send word to the High Council. Tell them the humans fight like demons but act like—" "I don't know what they act like." While the alien fleet retreated, Jake sat in his captain's chair and tried to understand what was happening. Two separate groups of aliens had attacked his ship without warning. Both times, the aliens had fought desperately as if they were fighting for their lives. "Captain," Dr. Martinez's voice came over the intercom, "I think I've made a breakthrough with the alien language." Jake hurried to the medical bay where the alien survivors were being held. Dr. Martinez had been working with the ship's computer to translate their speech. "What have you learned?" Jake asked. "They keep talking about something called the burning," Dr. Martinez explained. "They seem to think we're here to finish something that was started long ago." Jake looked at the alien survivors. "Ask them what the burning means." Dr. Martinez spoke slowly in the alien language. The response came quickly and was filled with fear. "They say it was when the humans came before and burned their worlds. They think we're the same humans returning to destroy what's left of their civilization." Jake felt confused. Humans have never been to this part of space before. Earth's first. Deep space missions only started 50 years ago. One of the alien survivors, an older one with scars on his blue skin, spoke directly to Jake. The translator worked to convert his words. He says his grandfather saw the human ships. He says humans destroyed the Great Alliance and turned their worlds to ash. He wants to know why we came back. Jake knelt down so he was at eye level with the alien. "Tell him we're not here to hurt anyone. We're looking for our missing people." When the translation was complete, the alien survivor looked shocked. He spoke quickly to his companions, and they all stared at Jake with confusion. "What did he say?" Jake asked. "He wants to know if we're really not here for revenge." Meanwhile, in the capital city of the Corthani Empire, the High Council was meeting in emergency session. Ancient archives were being opened for the first time in generations. Old counselors who remembered the stories from their youth spoke of the human ships that had once brought fire to the galaxy. "The humans have returned," announced Council Leader Vorthak. "Our fleets cannot stop them. We must prepare for the end." But Counselor Yithara, the youngest member of the council, had been reading the old records more carefully. "Council Leader, these reports say the humans only attacked after their colonies were destroyed. What if they're not here for conquest?" "Then why are they in our space?" Vorthak demanded. "I don't know," Yithara admitted. "But maybe we should try to find out." Back on the UES Defiance, Jake was beginning to understand that there was much more to this situation than a simple rescue mission. Somewhere in this region of space was the answer to Dr. Campbell's disappearance. But he had also stumbled into a conflict that had roots going back centuries. "Amy," he called to his navigation officer, "plot a course for the last known position of Dr. Campbell's research vessel, but keep us away from any major alien settlements." "Yes, sir." Course plotted. As the UES Defiance continued deeper into alien space, both sides struggled to understand each other. The humans wanted only to find their missing people and go home. The aliens believed they were facing the return of an ancient enemy who had once nearly destroyed their civilization. Neither side knew that the truth lay buried in history, waiting to be discovered. The UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace with a bright flash of light. Captain Jake Morrison watched the main screen as the stars returned to their normal positions. The ship's engines slowed down as they entered normal space near the coordinates where Dr. Campbell's team had last been seen. "Sensors are online, Captain," reported Lieutenant Karen Scott from her position at the communications console. "Scanning for any signs of the research vessel." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was focused and ready. This was supposed to be a simple rescue mission in empty space. Find Dr. Campbell's ship, help any survivors, and head home. Captain, Amy Davis called out from navigation. I'm reading multiple contacts on the sensor grid. Jake frowned. What kind of contacts? Ships, sir. At least 6 of them in formation around us. The main screen changed to show the tactical display. 6 strange vessels had appeared around the UES Defiance in a perfect circle. They were unlike any ships in Earth's database. The hulls were long and curved with strange markings along their sides. Are they human ships? Jake asked. Amy checked her readings again. No, sir. These are definitely not human design. I've never seen anything like them. Commander Alex Turner stood up from his chair. Captain, those ships just powered up their weapons. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Try to contact them, Karen. Send a standard first contact message. Lieutenant Karen Scott opened all communication channels and began broadcasting. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship UES Defiance. We come in peace and request communication. Please respond. There was no answer from the alien ships. Instead, the sensors showed their weapons charging to full power. Captain, Alex said with worry in his voice. They're targeting us. Keep trying to contact them, Jake ordered. Maybe they don't understand our language. Karen sent the message. Again, this time with mathematical sequences and universal symbols that any spacefaring race should recognize as peaceful. The alien ships continued to charge their weapons. On the bridge of the lead Corthani vessel, Commander Dexvol watched, the human ship with growing terror. The vessel was massive, much larger than any ship in his patrol group. Its hull was smooth and dark, with weapon ports that could be seen even from a distance. Should we wait for orders from Admiral Zexathara? Asked his weapons officer. Commander, Dexvol thought about the old stories. His grandmother had told him about the human ships that could destroy entire fleets. She said the humans never gave warnings before they attacked. They just appeared and started killing. No, he said. We cannot let them get the first shot. Fire all weapons. The 6 Corthani ships opened fire at the same time. Bright beams of energy struck the UES Defiance from all sides. The human ship's shields flared with blue light as they absorbed the attacks. On the human bridge, alarms started ringing. The ship shook as the alien weapons hit their shields. We're under attack, Alex shouted over the noise. Shields are holding, but they're down to 80%. Jake could not believe what was happening. Are they insane? We sent a peaceful message. Captain, what are your orders? Asked Lieutenant Dan Hayes from the weapons console. Jake made a quick decision. His crew was in danger, and these aliens had attacked without warning. Return fire. Target their weapons only. Try not to destroy them. The UES Defiance had been built with the latest Earth technology. Its weapons were powerful and accurate. Dan Hayes fired the main guns at the closest alien ship. The energy beams cut through the alien vessel's shields like they were made of paper. The first Corthani ship exploded in a ball of flame. The other 5 ships continued firing, but their weapons were much weaker than human technology. The UES. Defiance's shields easily blocked their attacks. Target the second ship, Jake ordered. Warning shots only, but the human weapons were too powerful for warning shots. The second Corthani vessel lost its engine section and began spinning out of control. The crew abandoned ship in small escape pods. Commander Dexvol watched in horror as 2 of his ships were destroyed in seconds. The human vessel had barely used any power at all. Its weapons had cut through their best shields like they were nothing. All ships retreat, he ordered into his communicator. Fall back to the rally point. The remaining 4 Corthani ships turned and ran as fast as their engines could carry them. The UES Defiance did not follow them. On the human bridge, silence fell as the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace. Jake stared at the debris floating where 2 alien vessels had been destroyed. Captain, Karen said quietly, I'm picking up escape pod signals from the damaged ships. Send rescue teams, Jake ordered immediately. Get those survivors aboard. Alex looked confused. Sir, they just tried to kill us. They're still people, Alex. We don't leave anyone to die in space. While the rescue teams worked to save the alien survivors, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark checked the ship's systems. The UES Defiance had taken almost no damage from the attack. The alien weapons had been primitive compared to human technology. "Captain," Ryan reported, "all systems are fine. Their weapons barely scratched our shields." Jake nodded, but he felt troubled. Why had the aliens attacked without trying to communicate? Earth had protocols for first contact situations, and shooting first was never part of those protocols. The rescue teams brought 12 alien survivors aboard the ship. They were tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 eyes. Most of them were injured, but they would live. Dr. Helen Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, took care of their wounds. "They keep saying the same word over and over," Dr. Martinez reported to Jake. "It sounds like they're terrified of something." Meanwhile, the surviving Corthani commander reached Admiral Zexathara's flagship. Commander Dexvol was still shaking. When he gave his report, "Admiral, the humans destroyed 2 of our ships in seconds. Their weapons are beyond anything we have. And, sir, they rescued our survivors." Admiral Zexathara felt his worst fears coming true. "They rescued your people?" "Yes." "Sir, they could have let our crews die in space, but they saved them instead." This confused the Admiral. The old stories said humans were merciless killers who showed no compassion to their enemies. But these humans had saved alien lives after being attacked. "Send word to all fleet commanders," the Admiral ordered. "The humans have returned, and they are more powerful than ever. Activate all defense protocols." Across the Corthani Empire, fear spread like wildfire. Ancient weapons were brought out of storage. Old battle plans were reviewed. Every ship in the fleet was put on high alert. Back on the UES Defiance, Jake studied the tactical reports from the battle. The alien ships had been fast, but their weapons and shields were weak. It was like fighting with modern weapons against soldiers from 100 years ago. "Captain," Amy reported, "I've plotted the course those ships were taking when they retreated. If we follow their trail, we might find where they came from." Jake thought about this. He still needed to find Dr. Campbell and her team, but now he also had 12 alien prisoners and a first contact situation that had gone terribly wrong. "Set course to follow their trail," he decided. "But keep our weapons ready. If there are more ships out there, they might try to attack us." Again, the UES Defiance turned toward the heart of the Corthani Empire, carrying both sides toward a bigger conflict that neither of them wanted or understood. The alarm sound filled the bridge of the Corthani warship like a dying animal's cry. Admiral Zexathara lifted his 4 eyes from the daily reports and looked at the main screen. His blue skin turned pale as he saw the numbers flashing red across the display. "What is that noise?" he asked, with his deep voice that usually made junior officers shake with fear. Today his voice shook instead. Lieutenant Vexmy turned around in his chair. His hands moved quickly over the control panel, but they were shaking too. "Sir, we have a problem. A big problem." "Speak clearly, Lieutenant. What kind of problem?" "There is a ship in Sector 7 Gamma, sir. A very large ship." Admiral Zexathara felt his blood turn cold. Sector 7 Gamma was the forbidden zone. No ship had been allowed there for 200 years. Not since the humans came and left fire in their wake. "That is impossible," the Admiral said, but his voice was quiet now. "Run the scan again. Check for errors." Lieutenant Vexmy pressed more buttons. The screen showed the same results. The energy reading was huge, bigger than any ship in their fleet. The computer tried to match the signature with known ship types, but it found nothing in their database. "Sir," Vexmy said, his voice almost a whisper, "the energy pattern matches the old records, the forbidden records." Every officer on the bridge stopped what they were doing. They all knew what the old records contained. Stories their grandparents told them when they were young. Stories about the humans and what they could do when they were angry. Admiral Zexathara walked to the main screen and stared at the readings. His mind went back to the history lessons from his youth. The humans had come to their galaxy once before, many years ago. They seemed peaceful at first, building colonies and trading with other species. But then something terrible happened. Decker. Old stories said that other alien races got scared of how fast the humans grew and spread across the stars. These aliens attacked the human colonies and killed everyone they could find. They thought they had won and that the humans were gone forever. They were wrong. The humans came back with ships that could destroy whole fleets. They burned worlds and turned mighty empires into ash. Then, just as quickly as they had come, they disappeared again. No one had seen a human ship for 200 years, until now. Far away from the Corthani warship on a blue planet called Earth, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his office reading mission reports. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept drinking it anyway. Outside his window, he could see the shipyard, where his vessel waited for orders. The door to his office opened with a soft sound. A young woman in a military uniform walked in and stood at attention. "Captain Morrison, sir. I have urgent orders from command." Jake looked up from his papers. "What kind of orders, Lieutenant Davis?" Amy Davis handed him a sealed packet. "Emergency rescue mission, sir. We leave in 6 hours." Jake opened the packet and read the first page. His face grew serious as he read about Dr. Lisa Campbell and her research team. They had been studying old alien ruins at the edge of known space when their signals stopped 3 weeks ago. "Any idea what happened to them?" Jake asked. "No, sir. Their last message said they found something interesting in the ruins. After that, nothing." Jake stood up and walked to the window. His ship, the UES Defiance, sat in the dock like a sleeping giant. It was one of Earth's newest vessels, built for long trips into unknown space. The ship had strong shields, powerful weapons, and a crew of 200 good people. "Get the crew ready, Lieutenant. We launch as soon as possible." While Amy Davis left to prepare the ship, Jake looked at the star charts in the mission packet. The area where Dr. Campbell's team had disappeared was marked as unexplored space. Earth sensors had detected some strange energy readings from that direction, but no ships had ever been sent to investigate. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Commander Alex Turner checked the weapon systems one more time. He was Jake's second in command and had served with him for 5 years. Alex trusted Jake's judgment, but something about this mission felt different. "All systems ready, Captain," Alex reported when Jake arrived on the bridge. "Good. Amy, do you have our course plotted?" Lieutenant Amy Davis nodded from her position at the navigation console. "Yes, sir. It will take us 4 days to reach the last known position of Dr. Campbell's team." Jake sat in the captain's chair and looked around at his crew. They were good people, all of them. Engineers, scientists, security officers, and medical staff. They had signed up to explore the galaxy and help people in trouble. "Take us out, Amy. Nice and easy." The UES Defiance moved away from Earth's orbital shipyard and into open space. The engines hummed with power as the ship picked up speed. Within an hour, they were at the edge of the solar system. "Hyperspace jump ready, Captain," Amy reported. "Do it." The stars outside the windows stretched into lines of light as the ship entered hyperspace. Inside, the crew went about their duties, not knowing they were heading toward a part of the galaxy that had been forbidden for 200 years. Back on the Corthani warship, Admiral Zexithara paced back and forth on the bridge. He had sent messages to Fleet Command about the human ship, but he had not received orders yet. Part of him wanted to attack the human vessel before it could do any damage. Another part of him remembered the old stories about what happened to ships that fought against humans. "Sir," Lieutenant Vexamai called out, "the human ship is moving. It's heading deeper into our territory." Admiral Zexithara stopped pacing. "Are you certain it's a human ship?" "The computer is 90% sure, sir. The energy signature matches the old records perfectly. The Admiral made a decision that would change everything. Send a message to all ships in this sector. Tell them to stay away from Sector 7 Gamma. No one approaches that area without my direct orders." "What about the High Council, sir? Should we inform them?" Admiral Zexithara thought about this. The High Council had not dealt with humans in 200 years. Most of them probably thought humans were just scary stories from the past. Send them a priority message. Tell them the humans have returned. As the message traveled across space to the Corthani capital, fear began to spread through their empire. Old weapons were checked, and ancient defense plans were pulled from storage. The galaxy was about to remember why the name human had once been spoken only in whispers. Neither side knew that this was all a terrible misunderstanding. The humans were just looking for their missing people, and the aliens were terrified of ghosts from their past. But sometimes, fear can be more dangerous than any weapon. The UES Defiance continued through hyperspace, carrying Captain Morrison and his crew toward a meeting that would shake the foundations of galactic peace. The Kethmar fleet struck Earth's outer defenses like a hammer hitting glass. Mars Colony 1 disappeared in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth's surface. The asteroid mining stations lasted barely 10 minutes against weapons that turned solid rock into glowing plasma. Admiral Davis watched from Earth Defense Command as red warning lights filled his screens. "Sir, we've lost contact with all outer system installations," reported Lieutenant Stone, her voice shaking. "The alien fleet is moving toward Earth at incredible speed." Captain Jake Morrison stood beside the Admiral, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. His enhanced Defiant was ready for battle, its hybrid weapons charged and waiting. Around Earth, every ship in the human fleet prepared for a fight they probably could not win. "How long until they reach us?" Davis asked. 6 hours, Admiral," Stone replied. Morrison activated his communication system. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison aboard the Defiant. Remember what we've learned about these creatures. They depend on telepathic coordination to fight effectively. Stay close to ships with human crews. Their mind control doesn't work on us, and our presence disrupts their communications." The response came from Captain Linda Ross of the Earth cruiser, Titan. "Morrison, are you sure about this immunity thing? Because if you're wrong, we're all dead." "I'm sure," Morrison replied grimly. "We've tested it in battle for 2 years. Trust me." As the hours passed, refugees from the outer colonies began arriving on Earth in whatever ships they could find. The stories they told were horrifying. The Kethmar didn't just destroy human installations. They captured survivors and loaded them onto slave ships, just as they had done to Morrison's crew 5 years ago. Roy Palmer worked frantically in the Defiant's engineering section, making final adjustments to their captured alien technology. "Captain, I've managed to boost our shield generators by another 20%, but we're still going to be outnumbered 50-1. "Then we'll have to be 50 times smarter," Morrison replied through the communication system. Dr. Paul Mitchell was in the ship's science lab studying the latest readings from the approaching fleet. What he found made his blood run cold. "Captain, you need to see this. The Kethmar aren't just bringing an invasion force. They're bringing dimensional gateway generators." Morrison joined Mitchell in the lab, studying the holographic display. "What does that mean?" "It means if they win here, they can open permanent portals to other dimensions. They could invade 1,000 different versions of Earth across the multiverse." Morrison felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. This wasn't just about saving their Earth anymore. It was about protecting every human civilization that might exist. The battle began when the Kethmar fleet reached Earth's moon. Their massive crystal ships opened fire on Luna Base, turning humanity's oldest space colony into a crater visible from Earth's surface. The destruction was so complete that the shockwave shattered windows in cities on the night side of the planet. "All ships, engage the enemy," Admiral Davis ordered. The human fleet launched toward the alien armada, Earth's finest warships against an empire that had conquered half a galaxy. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a new sun as energy beams and missiles crossed the void between the fleets. Morrison guided the Defiant into the heart of the battle, its enhanced weapons tearing through Kethmar shields that should have been impenetrable. Behind him, Roy Palmer called out power readings as their hybrid systems performed beyond all expectations. "Captain, their command ship is trying to coordinate the fleet," reported Ben Carter from his communications station. "But I'm detecting interference in their signals." "That's us," Morrison said with grim satisfaction. "Lisa, boost the telepathic disruption field. Let's see how well they fight when they can't talk to each other." Lisa Grant's hands flew over her controls, amplifying the natural human resistance to Kethmar mind control. Across the battlefield, alien ships began to lose coordination as their telepathic networks failed. The effect was immediate and devastating. Kethmar ships that had moved in perfect formation suddenly found themselves firing on each other. Their attack patterns dissolved into chaos as squadron commanders lost contact with their fleets. "This is impossible," Commander Vextar snarled from his command ship, watching his perfectly disciplined fleet fall apart. "How are these primitive humans disrupting our control networks?" His science officer looked up from his instruments with fear in his glowing eyes. "Commander, the humans appear to be immune to our telepathic control. Worse, their presence is creating a field that blocks our communications." Vextar felt the same fear he had experienced during the slave rebellions. The Starbreaker prophecy had spoken of beings who would be immune to Kethmar control, who would turn their own strength against them. On the Defiant, Morrison pressed his advantage. "All human ships, form up on us. We're going straight for their command vessel." "Captain, that's suicide," protested Captain Ross from the Titan. "Their flagship has more firepower than our entire fleet." "Not if we can get close enough," Morrison replied. "Roy, prepare the dimensional charges." Palmer grinned fiercely as he armed the special weapons they had built using captured Kethmar technology. "Ready, Captain. One shot, and we can tear a hole in space big enough to swallow their command ship." The Defiant led a dozen human ships in a desperate charge toward the massive Kethmar flagship. Alien weapons fire lit up space around them as they raced through the enemy formation. 2 Earth ships exploded under the terrible barrage, but the rest pressed on. "Now, Roy," Morrison ordered. The dimensional charges fired simultaneously, tearing holes in space itself around the Kethmar command ship. The massive vessel was caught in a collapsing pocket of reality, its hull imploding as the laws of physics went insane around it. Commander Vextar had just enough time to see his ship's walls begin to fold inward before everything went white. With their command ship destroyed and their communications disrupted, the Kethmar fleet began to retreat toward their dimensional portals. But Morrison wasn't finished with them. "All ships, pursue and destroy," he ordered. "We can't let any of them escape to report back to their empire." The battle raged for 6 more hours as human ships hunted down fleeing aliens across the solar system. When it was over, not a single Kethmar vessel remained. The dimensional portals collapsed, sealing the pathway between realities. Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking at the wreckage floating in space. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. Half of Earth's fleet was destroyed, and thousands of people were dead. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth," reported Carter. Admiral Davis appeared on the screen, looking older but relieved. "Jake, you did it. The alien fleet is completely destroyed." Morrison nodded wearily. "For now, Admiral, but the Kethmar Empire still exists in their dimension. They'll try again eventually." "Then we'll be ready for them," Davis replied. "We've learned that humans don't break easily, and now we have your technology to help us prepare." Over the following months, Earth began to change. The captured Kethmar technology was studied and adapted, making human ships and weapons more powerful than ever before. More importantly, the knowledge that humanity was not alone in the universe united the planet like nothing before. Morrison finally returned to his home in California, but found it empty. His wife Amy had remarried, believing him dead. His daughter Sophie, now 13, barely remembered the father who had left when she was 8. He found Sophie playing in a park near her new home, a tall girl with serious eyes that reminded him of her mother. When she saw him approaching, She looked up with curiosity rather than recognition. "Sophie," he said quietly, kneeling down to her level. "I'm your father." She studied his scarred face for a long moment. "Mom said you were dead." "I was lost," Morrison replied, "very far away. But I found my way back. Why did it take so long?" Morrison looked up at the sky, thinking of the friends he had lost and the battles he had fought. Sometimes when people get lost, they have to learn how to be strong enough to protect the people they love. That takes time. Sophie considered this with the seriousness that only children possess. "Are you strong enough now?" Morrison smiled, the first genuine smile he had managed since returning to Earth. "Yes, I think I am." As they walked together through the park, Morrison told his daughter about the stars and the wonders that waited among them. But he also told her about the dangers and how sometimes good people had to fight to protect what they loved. Earth was safe for now, but Morrison knew the universe was vast and full of threats. Humanity would need to be ready for whatever came next. The species that had once been slaves in another dimension had become the guardians of their own. The lost ship had returned with vengeance, and the galaxy would never be the same.